Ladies, gentlemen, everybody else, that guy in the back checking his phone right now, welcome to the American Sci-Fi Classics Track. It is Thursday night. You have made the best decision that you could possibly make. Outside of spending time with family, who are we kidding? This is better. Tonight, we are going to talk about heavy metal music and its ties and connections with sci-fi and fantasy and Molly Hatchet and that kind of thing. And we've got guests coming in, going out. We did a panel about this in live action at DragonCon a few years ago with two of our guests tonight. And wasn't it late at night? And I don't remember any of it.
Who knows? That, like I said, that was in the before times anyway. And I think I was also drinking a lot more then. So I
see,
those brain cells are gone.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and they ain't coming back.
No, not anytime soon.
Not
metalheads have specific memories.
But we are going to talk about that. I like doing these. I like doing these deep dives into geeky history and that kind of thing. But first of all, let's introduce our illustrious panelists tonight. One internet to my left, Kevin.
Hey everyone, how you doing? Full disclosure, audience, I am a bit more of a punk rock enthusiast than a metal enthusiast, but I figure for tonight, I'm going to keep one foot in the gutter and one fist in the gold like Ricky Rackman on the Headbangers Ball and talk about metal and sci-fi.
If you had less than 2 minutes before we had a Ricky Rackman reference, then you are tonight's winner.
Ricky Rackman reference.
Yes, that's true. Two internets to my left. Tom.
Hey, I'm Tom Morris, host of the Good, the Bad, and the Nerdy Movie Podcast. Hardcore metalhead, and also a hardcore punk head. So, if you can mosh to it, it's for me.
Oh, okay. That's dangerous. It's so dangerous.
I still have welts from a Metallica show.
Welts?
In 2000.
Oh.
Yes.
And let's see, 1, 2, 3 internets away from me. This guy's been on live action panels on the American Sci-Fi Classics Track a lot, but he is making his debut tonight on the Sci-Fi Classic Quarantine panel. Sean.
Hey, how's it going, everyone? Yeah, I am stuck in the 80s, if you can't tell from the posters behind me for those watching the live stream. 80s thrash kid, grew up on Anthrax, enjoyed doing this panel. I'm just going to say I'm fairly certain I enjoy doing this panel. I think I have video of it somewhere where I can see that I enjoy doing this panel. 5 years ago, 28 years ago.
Oh, my gosh, yeah.
My beard was not as gray then, I don't think. But a million years ago, I enjoyed doing this panel live, and so thanks for having me back to do it again on the live stream.
Mm-hmm.
But we
have video, we have the negatives. Some people call it evidence.
Oh yeah, look. I was never running for office. We know that.
And one internet to the south of me, my I dare say compadre. What is happening? My unindicted co-conspirator on the American Sci-Fi Classics Track, Mr. Gary Mitchel.
I like to think myself as the bass player of the track.
Yeah. I'm the idiot who has to clean up after everybody has left. After everybody,
you're the heavy metal janitor.
Yeah.
He's head roadie.
Right.
Have you beat any innkeepers to death with their own shoes?
I'm working my way up to head roadie. I'm not there yet.
You're not working your way up to you, babe?
That is a whole different panel.
That's another show.
Gary,
that's the soul and sci-fi panel, right? So,
all it takes, Gary.
Mm-hmm.
You will go to the drab room. Don't. All right. So, anyway, 5 minutes into this thing, here's what we're talking about tonight. We are talking about heavy metal music and its connections in sci-fi, classic sci-fi, and fantasy, and that kind of thing. And it was a big deal, maybe a bigger deal then than now. It seemed like heavy metal's heyday of the 70s and then the 80s also tied into it also connected with sci-fi literature and books and movies.
Oh, yeah.
And there seemed to be a ton of crossover amidst the two. I like and of course album art is my favorite thing. Well, I also enjoy the music inside the albums. Let me just specify that, just to be clear. Kevin, let's talk about sci-fi and heavy metal and that kind of thing.
Sure. I think the first, like when I was thinking about this panel, the first band that sprung to my mind was GWAR. Honestly,
Sure.
Because their whole shtick is they're aliens in their outer space. And,
Wait, but they're not?
Yeah, and
How dare you?
Wait. That's not a shtick. This is for real.
And they're in these exciting outfits, and you go see them, and they're hacking each other to bits, and there's fluid spraying everywhere onto the audience, and it's more of a complete entertainment experience, I think, than something you just go to listen to the music for. And I feel like sci-fi is so tied up in their whole general thing that it's the thing I wanted to kick this off with, GWAR.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can tell you 50% of the reason I attended Dragon Con for the first time back in 99 was GWAR was playing.
Oh, wow.
And they'd been banned from performing in North Carolina for like 10 years because someone foolishly booked them for an all ages show, and they forgot halfway through the show that it was an all ages show. Let's just say GWAR put something inside of someone else in a way that you normally shouldn't put something inside of someone else, and North Carolina frowns upon that kind of thing.
North Carolina frowns upon. And just complete that sentence however you want.
I can only guess Jesse Helms was quite amused.
Oh, yeah. So, well, considering it was a politician stand-in, yeah. So my friends and I were like, well, we've been seeing Dragon Con for like 2 or 3 years, ads for it. We're like, oh, they got these people, that should be fun. Oh, it's these people, that should be fun. It's not that far to Atlanta. And then we saw GWAR performing. Like, okay, yeah, we're going. So I am proud to say I've managed to be in the pit at a GWAR show. And Kevin is not wrong. You end up covered in all kinds of fluid.
Yes.
Fluid. It's like Gallagher, but heavy metal.
Yes.
Yeah, I live outside Knoxville, and we used to have some incredibly great grungy clubs that would book GWAR at least every 9 months. So for about a good stretch before we lost Dave, he was, he would stop off and sacrifice quite a few people.
I love it. Let's go.
What about you, Sean? What's your GWAR take?
Oh, geez, GWAR. Well, how do you not love GWAR? I think probably the most standout thing, and this is because I suffer from recency bias. It was just recently, not that, was it like 5 days ago, was Rex Manning Day. So who can forget GWAR's appearance in Empire Records? And I forget the actor's name, but the young skater punk kid that just loses his mind tripping out on edibles, and he just screams in like directly into the camera. I don't know if he's intentionally breaking the fourth wall or not, but he just goes GWAR! And I was like, I was that kid once. I understand that entirely.
Hey, anybody played the Beavis and Butthead Sega Genesis game?
No.
Oh, okay.
The plot of that game was their tickets to GWAR got cut up in Tom Anderson's lawnmower. You have to go around town finding the pieces so they can get backstage to see GWAR.
That's great.
Nice.
That's great. My favorite GWAR thing is I don't know if they've done it maybe the last year or two, but the Onion's AV Club for a few years gathered together on a YouTube series random bands, and they would choose covers to do.
Yes.
And the Tiny Desk concerts, right?
Yeah, something like that. That was NPR, but it was something like
I think it's called like Undercover.
Yeah, Undercover. That's right. And GWAR always ended up getting there late, so their song choice was always very limited, and they would complain about that for the first half of each video in a very hilarious way. But they did Carry On My Wayward Son and said before the thing they said, we hate this song, but they crushed it, and it was awesome. But I'm going to say I don't think they actually hate it.
Yeah.
Because how can you?
Yeah, and Craig Isley's question there. GWAR has made a few direct-to-video movies. I have rented a few of them, get drunk and watch them, and they're a ball. I can't guarantee how their quality holds up in a more unaltered state of mind.
Look, I'm sure the storytelling is, and the mise-en-scene is very accurate.
I mean, much like Playboy magazine, you're there for the story, right?
Man,
yeah, absolutely.
100%.
Like Wells, Kurosawa, Sly Menstra.
Yes.
Yeah, just right in line.
I got to see her, another Dragon Con moment. There was 2 or 3 years she would come and sit on top of a giant Tesla coil and wear these metal chain outfit and would throw lightning. And it was like, oh yeah, I'm here for this.
Yeah,
and that's pretty damn metal.
Yeah, that is literally
literally
the most metallic thing. But let's go a little further back. Tom, you reminded me of this. Album covers in the 70s were basically sci-fi novels.
Oh yeah, I mean,
fantasy novels.
This Frazetta cover alone is, iconic.
Yeah.
Molly Hatchet is Molly Hatchet, but it's iconic for whatever reason. I mean, it's one of the best. I mean, if it was comic book cover, it'd be great. And I don't know. that's what I love about collecting vinyl. You get these incredible covers you don't normally see.
Yeah. Wow. Exactly.
Yeah,
Hello.
Can you say hi? Yeah, my daughter's like, I want to watch.
Hello.
I feel the same way.
Yeah.
I feel the same way.
But yeah, I mean, and you got stuff like Journey. I mean, they're less metal, but their sound, their themes are definitely very sci-fi. I mean, they wrote the soundtrack for Tron, so
Yeah.
Wait, what?
you don't know that?
Did I know this?
Yeah,
Apparently not.
Songs in Tron are by Journey, which is why in Tron Legacy, when they turn the jukebox on, they play separate ways. It's like there's like 3 or 4 songs that are in the background at the arcade, and then during the credits, the song they specifically wrote for Tron is played. And there was an Oscar campaign, which they didn't get the nomination, unfortunately.
Well, let's add one more metallic individual to our panel.
Hey guys, I think I'm going to have to drop out.
Ladies and gentlemen, Marcel.
Tag him in.
Hey,
Hey.
hi guys.
Hey.
How's it going?
It's going
Mark,
well, Mr. Finn.
Mark,
I'm sorry that I'm late. I was busy digging out all of my Kiss albums. So
fret not, all is well. We really can start.
All right. So, Kevin, have I met you before?
I don't believe you have. Hello.
Hi, Kevin. I'm Mark.
Hey, Mark.
Sean, I'm Mark. How you doing?
Hey, Mark, how's it going? I don't believe we met before either, so nice to meet you.
It's going good, man. Props to the Masters of the Universe poster.
Thank you.
That's
It is it's the French one.
Oh, well,
nice.
Because
Sure.
I don't speak French, but He-Man's name in French is Musclor, which is actually way more on brand for Masters of the Universe. That it would be Musclor versus Skeletor is a way better fight than He-Man versus Skeletor. So
I can't argue with any of that.
And Mark, you got some delayed audio coming out of your system, I think.
I am gonna fix that right
by going to the Yeti
Hey.
instead of I don't know. This is a really expensive microphone. You can tell it's hanging down on a thing.
Oh, yeah.
And yet my computer seems to think that its little piece of crap thing just made out of like the world's smallest tin can and string is the preferred microphone that I want. I'm not sure why that is.
But we talked about GWAR for a minute, Mark.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Jeez.
And Gary has had things sprayed on him at GWAR concerts multiple times. So, there's that.
Gary, you've never been hotter.
Oh,
Wow. You have GWAR credentials. That's
right.
That's very cool, man.
Hey,
But we were just about to go back into the 70s and talk about heavy metal album covers and that kind of thing. And as part of our Texan contingent, Mark, we must talk about Michael Moorcock. And
oh God, yes.
I mean, he was in a metal band.
Yes, he was, and has had more than one tribute band take his stories and turn them into lyrics.
And they are great. I do not know how many of them I have on my computer, but anyway, we'll get there.
Yes, I hope so.
So let's talk about. Do y'all have a Tom before he jumped out? Showed us the Molly Hatchet cover with what appeared to be Thor on the front of it, but there's so much Frazetta stuff and so many other crazy sci-fi album and fantasy album covers that I don't even know. On a couple of them, I honestly don't know what the music sounds like, but the covers,
Those Frazetta covers were partially responsible for a chunk of my reading. There was a period of time when in the record stores, that was what you displayed, and of course, they were second and third reproduction rights. Molly Hatchet was getting it a second time because it had already been used as a book cover elsewhere, right? So that's what's cool about that is, I got to Molly Hatchet and then backwards found my way to Carl Edward Wagner's Kane stories.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Because, I mean, it's pretty obvious when you look at, nobody looks like Frazetta except Frazetta. And so, I mean, even as a kid, I could tell that that's the guy that did the Conan covers. And here's another thing over here, and he's got an axe. I'll bet he kills someone with it. I want to read that story.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And the Kane books, especially, you can read with, you can accompany it with a Molly Hatchet album, and it's like, yeah,
totally.
This is good.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure. I know Carl Edward Wagner was into rock and roll. He was a bikery kind of guy. He kind of ran with Hell's Angels and stuff like that, and was by all account. It makes perfect sense that Molly Hatchet. That seems like really obvious. When you break it down. But oh yeah, those Kane books were super instrumental for me. And if you're talking about the 70s. You have to talk about Kiss.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, hottest band in the world, for God's sake. They were comic book stars.
Yeah. Yeah.
They had a TV movie where it was revealed, as we secretly suspected, that they had superpowers. Yeah. I mean, we knew this, but then the movie comes out and we're like, oh yeah.
Flat out. Yeah.
Like of course.
Exactly. I think that is what attracted me to Kiss in the first place. I think I might have read the Kiss Marvel comic before I heard their music, and turns out they're both good.
Right. But, I was a little kid in the 70s, and for a while, Kiss were the only band that I knew existed. Right. I just thought, well, that's the band. Their Kiss were I didn't know that there were other bands. I thought there was just Kiss. They had lunchboxes and shit.
Oh yeah.
Nobody else had lunchboxes.
They
There was
had
not like a
Mego action figures. You could literally have the Kiss action figures fight the 12-inch Superman and Batman and Spider-Man. I mean,
And it would totally make sense.
right?
yeah,
Well, yeah,
totally would make sense.
of course.
Yeah. I was say, what's more metal than a lunchbox? I mean, come on.
And I was like 4, and my sons are 4. They don't know who Kiss are. I need to rectify that.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh yeah, totally.
You will.
Mhm.
And of course, none of this is by accident. I am sure that all of you know, but I'm going to say it anyways for the people out there who might not know. Gene Simmons, huge geek, back before geeky was geeky, and he actually he did comic book fanzines when he was a kid. Oh yeah. He can tell you that he can spot Kirby art. You know, like he's that much of a fan. The way he walks on stage, you know, when he had the full regalia, he modeled that after the Cyclops from the Seventh Voyage of Sinbad.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and then of course he got Ken Kelly to do the cover art for Destroyer and Love Gun. You know, and Ken Kelly is Frazetta's nephew by marriage, I think. So he was already doing fantasy artwork at that time when he was doing those things. And so yeah, you know, they've done the rock and roll overcover was illustrated and in a kind of a pop art way. The cover for Unmasked was a comic book strip that showed them not taking their makeup off. And then, you know, in the 90s, we got all the Psycho Circus comics and all that. These guys are ground zero for fantasy nerditry, I think, you know? Yeah.
There's even the potentially apocryphal, but who knows, because it's Gene Simmons, so everything he's potentially apocryphal.
Right.
But the story of them mixing their own blood into the ink back for the Marvel Comics run back in the late 70s.
It was actually a thing. They documented it and everything. They had a nurse on hand to do a blood draw. Granted, now it wasn't. I mean, it was a minuscule amount of blood that went into a vat of ink. So the very notion of it was more of a stunt than anything. But you know, at the time.
Wait, Kiss did something that was a stunt?
Settle down, you.
Never heard of that, ever.
Well, at the time, we were half convinced that Gene Simmons, you know, had a cow tongue stapled into his mouth. So
that was another. Yeah, these were the kind of rumors that the internet would have covered back then.
Oh yeah.
The rumors of today and all the gossip, that's bogus. Gene Simmons stapled a cow tongue into his mouth, people.
Yeah, that's nothing. Knights in Satan's Service. That was the other one.
Yeah. How dare you listen to Knights in Satan's Service?
Speaking of Simmons's tongue, one of my favorite all-time moments of watching television was I was work at lunch and someone was watching Oprah, and they have Kiss on there, and they're taking questions from the audience, and one lady goes, "So, Gene, exactly how long is your tongue?" And he just kind of leans forward and goes, "Long enough to be your best friend."
Good God.
And Oprah almost dropped her mic.
The most Gene Simmons answer ever.
That is literally the most. Right.
Wow. Yeah.
And I remember, I think the Kiss, or rather Gene, feuded with Ronnie James Dio for years. Over this.
Oh, right, yeah.
And at one point, to my remembrance, he claimed that Gene Simmons claimed he got it from Doctor Strange. So that seemed legit to me.
That wouldn't surprise me at all. He was a Marvel nerd. I mean, I think he sold his comics before he became a superstar, but there's a reason why all that stuff was licensed as it was. You know, he's fan. He's a deep nerd. Yeah.
And Kiss were integral to one of the great television fantasy specials of the 70s, the Paul Lynde Halloween special.
Oh yeah.
Oh, gosh.
Yes.
Guys, I just watched
Watch
that.
it now, I dare you.
No.
I watched it with my kids. It's
I
delightful.
watched it on Halloween, so it's very fresh to me. And ladies and gentlemen,
Oh, it's the gift that keeps on giving, isn't it?
it's on Amazon Prime, so there's a pristine copy on the streaming that you can watch. I would say right now, but wait till we're finished. Then
Then
Well,
go
and-
watch it.
If you're going to talk about Gene Simmons and Halloween, you got to talk about rock's chosen warrior, Sammy Kerr, and Gene Simmons' appearance in the 1986 cult classic Trick or Treat.
Trick or
Yes.
Not to be confused with the horror anthology Trick or Treat.
Right.
yes, please. Let's talk.
Googling that gets tricky.
And I'm gonna say this for Kiss. When Kiss tried to get kind of into more fantasy style storytelling in their music with music from the Elder, that's not really the Kiss stuff that I like.
No.
I know I'm in the minority here in not music from the Elder not being my favorite Kiss album. But, and I don't just like the makeup stuff. I think I think Revenge is actually a really great record.
Yeah,
But,
it is.
But I think when Kiss are at their best, they're kind of more of a meat and potatoes rock and roll band singing about cars and girls.
Well, I have an axiom that I honed while listening to Kiss records. There's a point at which a switch flips for every rock band ever in the world. It's at the beginning of their career. The first album is always about girls that they knew, shit that went down, strange apartments that they lived in. As soon as they get to the album that's nothing about girls they met while they were on tour, then then the fix is in. At that point there's a step down, and they better have have great guitar licks, because it all kind of runs together after that. I don't want to hear about how tough it is getting chlamydia on the road. That is not. I can't relate to that. Now
It's
Strutter,
very
I
metal.
can relate to. Strutter, I get. That makes sense. Hotter than hell.
I hear what you're saying there,
Mark.
although for me, Kiss are kind of an exception that proves the rule there, because I really like their sort of stuff about being big mythic rock stars, because Kiss are big mythic rock stars.
Well, okay.
I'm
So
just saying, Mark, that you're saying that you prefer rock bands that talk about getting chlamydia from the unknown people.
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah, you want the artisanal chlamydia.
Make me feel it. I can't.
A fine charcuterie board
It
of
needs to be-
chlamydia and syphilis. And
I need my venereal disease at street level.
Yes.
Well, Destroyer was a great example of big mythic Kiss, right? With God of Thunder,
Yeah.
and
And
then
Do You Love Me is a total We're Rock Star songs.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And I think that sort of transcends, because there's sort of a clause in there, an exception. Any song that you would put on a mixtape for someone that you were hoping to hook up with, is automatically accepted out of that woe is me category, because there's a point to that. I cannot remember the number of women I have sent Do You Love Me on a cassette to. Granted, it was like a shotgun. I figure one of them's gonna hit. I know.
A love gun.
As it will.
Is what it was.
I also think we all just dated ourselves by talking about giving out mixtapes to try to woo the
no one else is
ladies.
dating us, so
That's true. Talking about rock bands from the 70s and album covers isn't going to date us.
When I'm sending Spotify playlists.
That's right.
Do kids do that today?
Gonna
Is that
get
what
any
happens?
quality. No, sorry, John. Go ahead.
I was just wondering, is that what happens today? It's like, hey, I made you a Spotify playlist. You just share it, and you don't have the embarrassment of having to do it in person like we did. When you walk up or your voice is cracking at 13, like, I made you this. It's my soul on a cassette.
Do you like the art? It's a unicorn.
Right.
Yeah.
I drew it
myself.
Meanwhile, now you're just hitting share on the Spotify link, and you're like, "Hey, babe, I dig you," and you're like, "Oh my god, well, that's all the romance has gone out of that."
You could just call the.
Yeah, you're not getting chlamydia from a Spotify playlist.
You can't.
No, you're not. No.
You can't. You can't. You just call the Spotify playlist, please.
Please give me chlamydia.
I don't know. But...
Oh,
No, I never had. I call this playlist. I haven't had chlamydia, but I'd get it from you.
there you go.
So,
Ken is
let's.
in the other room going, "What the hell are you talking
What
about?"
is?
I don't actually have chlamydia, honey.
Okay, so the other big band, Kiss, obviously is near the top.
Yeah.
But the other one that always comes to my mind, thinking of metal and sci-fi, is Maiden.
Oh yeah.
Iron Maiden.
Mhm.
Just the cover of Somewhere in Time alone.
Yeah, they got the horror rock vibe down really good, especially in those early albums. I love Killers because they did a song about the murders in the Rue Morgue, and not just because it's a gorilla, but which of course is lovely, but because that's not really what the song is. In fact, I think it's actually from the point of view of the gorilla. But nevertheless,
nice.
The song, the fact that they actually covered Edgar Allan Poe and it wasn't the Alan Parsons Project was very refreshing to me. That seemed more plausible that Maiden's Murders in the Rue Morgue would work better than what Alan was doing on his Moog synthesizer.
Yeah, and Maiden had awesome cover art.
Oh yeah,
and they dug deep into, I think, the literary end of science fiction. To Tame a Land's about Dune, and they did like a Stranger in a Strange Land reference.
Yep.
They had a lot of that stuff.
When they just went deep literature, period. Like one of the only good high school memories I have is my senior English teacher playing Rime of the Ancient Mariner, and I was like, "Am I really listening to Iron Maiden in class?" I mean, I was normally listening to Iron Maiden in class, but it was on headphones. This was like I'm paying attention, taking notes. And this is irrelevant. And my teacher was by no means a metalhead. She was, this really nice older lady, probably in her 50s, which I hate that I just said older because that's not that much older than me now. But back then, she was ancient. And here's this woman comes in, this just very nice looking woman that probably goes to church on Sunday and hits play. And it's like Rime of the Ancient Mariners coming out of this school tape player. And I was like, this is the greatest day of school ever in my life.
Nice. Yeah. Outstanding. Yeah, Maiden was great for that. The Black Sabbath a little bit less so, but I think all of that got sort of redeemed when Dio was fronting the band, and of course one of the greatest mix tapes of all time, the heavy metal soundtrack. Right?
Yes.
Yeah, just for and great, and it's a bit of a misnomer, right? Because it's about the magazine, not the actual music genre.
Yeah.
But what's on there is a cornucopia of delights, in terms of being able to pair up the visuals that you watched at midnight, baked to the gills with what's coming out of your headphones now. I mean, that's still, I can still listen to that whole thing through and know exactly where I am in the movie and everything, Yeah.
And I mean, by no means are those songs, not all of those songs, like no one is ever going to confuse Donald Fagen or Devo.
Right.
Yeah. And mind you, I love Steely Dan.
Right.
I'm just saying, not a metal band.
No, definitely not.
I'm not sure how Fagen got on that.
I'm looking at the track listing now and I go, oh my God, holy shit, Donald Fagen is on here. Suddenly there's like smooth crooning.
They had to have 13 tracks, man.
Right. I was like, how did this even end up on here? But yeah, and then I mean, in Devo's working in a coal mine, which fits perfectly when it's used, but nobody's going to say that Devo is by any means an influential band. Sure. Heavy metal, not by a long shot.
Not exactly.
I was from small rural Texas towns, or not necessarily small, but definitely rural and a little provincial. And so for the metalheads who were very pro Aussie, they considered Devo to be preppy music, and of course, they were wrong. But I couldn't convince them of that until they got the heavy metal soundtrack, and then all of a sudden, here's Devo on the same album with with Mob Rules and
Mm.
Sammy Hagar and one of my favorite Cheap Trick songs of all time. It helped me in terms of legitimizing Devo for other people. I was there from the get-go, but everybody else was slow to follow.
Yeah, I mean, that album is such a ride from the beginning to end that even without the movie to go with it, which is awesome, it's just one hell of an album to throw on and just plow through.
Yep.
And there was a period where that movie was not easy to get.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. It was a midnight movie for a long time because, the soundtrack, there were rights issues, and that held up the DVD and some other things for a while. And when it came out, it came out really expensive because, I always imagine in my head that Riggs was the holdout.
This is the one thing I got.
This is gonna get me a new swimming pool.
Let me have my payday, man. I got a boat payment to make. But that's why ironically though, you could get it as a midnight movie, and because it was at that point sort of it was an aftermarket, like a Grindhouse style flick.
Oh, sure.
And they had the rights to theatrical, but not the home video.
Right. Yeah. You could probably it would have cost, I'm guessing $75 for the show. And they might've probably done it against the ticket cost itself. So it would have been 35. Sorry, that's insider baseball, guys. I own a movie theater for the two of you that don't know this. So I went to my happy place just now. In any case, they made bank, because you could fill the stadium, you could fill the seats at midnight, and it's like Rocky Horror. That thing just paid for itself for years. So,
yeah. So let's go over to
let's tangent off of that because we have some questions. Kyle McCraw asked, and appearing on the heavy metal soundtrack, Blue Oyster Cult. And that kind of ties back. We were talking about Michael Moorcock earlier.
Yep.
Black Blade, veteran of the Psychic Wars.
Mm-hmm.
Most importantly, they have a song about Godzilla.
Yeah.
That is the song.
Yeah.
At the end of the Godzilla King of the Monsters, I think it was, when they finally whipped out Godzilla, or it may have been the first Godzilla movie. Anyway, when that finally dropped, it was just like,
finally, I would say all of us right now on this panel had been waiting for 30 years for that to appear in an actual Godzilla movie.
Yeah. The very needle drop aspect of the last 20 years. It's been great because it's sort of come back on itself. When we were kids, we would listen to Iron Man, and we would associate Iron Man with it, even though I don't know what they were doing. But so when Robert Downey Jr. says I am Iron Man, and it goes straight into that. And we lose our damn mind. It feels like a feedback loop is connecting.
Because you can be waiting for it the whole damn movie. You knew,
right? And I'm really glad that they just went ahead and made that a through line into his character. He likes vintage metal. Right?
Yeah, the shirts.
Why not? Yeah. Totally. There was another band. Or another song that I was thinking of, and I just lost it. I'll come back to it in a second. I'll shout something out in 5 minutes. Hold on.
Well, I think it just my brain popped into the Marvel universe, and I say this. Oh, actually, I just came up with another. This is on the spot. This is what happens when my brain goes wandering, and this isn't even intoxicated, so that's impressive. So I'm going to make a ridiculous connection. In Captain Marvel, she's wearing the classic 9 Inch Nails shirt. 9 Inch Nails does not appear on the soundtrack.
Right.
Does make the appearance in the movie. Flip over to HBO Max, and Trent Reznor and Atticus Finch do the soundtrack to the Watchmen series.
Mm.
So there's how we make our connection for Trent Reznor from one band making an appearance in a movie visually to the man himself making an appearance on the soundtrack for one of the most renowned comic properties ever. And an amazing show. It's just
amazing show, and that soundtrack is just it's so good.
I didn't know that it was Reznor. And I'm watching the first episode, and I thought, that sounds like 9 Inch Nails. And then, well, sure enough, apparently I'm a genius because I figured it out.
He's gotten really good at like a lot of Danny Elfman's never not sounded like Danny Elfman, but Reznor transcended in a positive way.
His score for Social Network, I think, is so good.
Yeah.
So what about Blue Oyster Cult? Let's go back to them.
We totally fell off of there.
Imaginos is one hell of an album about time travel and weird science. I mean, there's one song called "The Seizure and Investiture of Baron von Frankenstein's Castle."
Yeah.
Joan Crawford has risen from the grave. The video, which got banned from MTV because it had vampire schoolgirls.
Yep.
What? That's what got banned.
Yeah. Fire of Unknown Origin is one of the greatest albums of all time.
Everything that I have heard from Blue Oyster Cult, I love, and of course, the legendary appearance of Don't Fear the Reaper in the Stand miniseries.
In everything.
Scream.
Yeah. If you need a cool rocking song about people are gonna die, you grab Don't Fear the Reaper.
It's classic. Absolutely.
And
I think it kind of overshadows some of their other stuff.
A lot. Yeah.
Because again, we mentioned Black Blade earlier about Elric, which is a fantastic song. I mean, they are very fantasy and sci-fi driven.
Yeah.
I also think if you want to talk like foundational metal stuff and fantasy, you have to bring up Zeppelin because
all
of the elves and fairies bullshit.
Zeppelin's whole career could be summed up in the people they stole from, and that's either blues guitarist from Mississippi or Tolkien.
Right.
Yes. Every other song, you're like, oh, that's either Robert Johnson or it's J.R.R. Tolkien. That's where some of this came from.
A hell of a mashup, too.
I don't know if you've heard,
but genius is the synthesis.
Yeah. I don't know if you've heard, but there's a woman who believes that everything that glitters is gold.
Oh. Yeah.
And I wonder, I'm gonna say, I think Kevin, I think you nailed it when I don't think Led Zeppelin were a bunch of nerds. I think they were like, let's put fairies and Tolkien stuff in this.
Yeah.
And just
they came to it honestly because that was in the 60s was when Tolkien hit on college campuses.
That's true. Yeah.
So that was a legitimate that wasn't so far a stretch.
Okay.
It is interesting though because there's such an undercurrent for all of this, right? It's I don't want to say it's a dirty little secret, but for so long there were these great little call outs that if you knew what it was, that was the coolest thing ever. If you didn't know, it went right overhead. Has anybody ever heard Magneto and Titanium Man from Paul McCartney and Wings? Yeah, and it's Magneto and Titanium Man. It's not like, oh no, what he's talking about is the element. No, it's fucking Magneto.
He's actually talking about
and the
Magneto.
Crimson Dynamo.
It's Paul McCartney singing about Magneto and the Titanium Man. There's a concert video that when I first heard it, my uncle, it's where I got all my nerd stuff. My uncle showed me a concert video and they unfurl posters of Magneto and Titanium Man, just in case if you're wondering. Like, nope, this is what it's about, guys. It's about Magneto.
My head would have melted. My skull would have fallen out of my nose. That's just.
I'm gonna have to see if there's a cover because I hate all Paul McCartney songs unless they're covered by somebody else.
Nice.
Okay.
It's a weird thing. I listen to the original. I go, I don't like this, and then I'll hear a cover, and I'll go, oh yeah, like Motley Crue's Helter Skelter, love it. The original, I'm kind of like, meh. Live and Let Die has some of the worst grammar in the world, but you put that in Axl Rose's mouth, and suddenly I don't care that he says in this ever-changing world in which we live in, repeating the word in no less than like 7 times. But Axl sings it, I'm okay with it. So yeah, so I'll see if there's a if there's a cover of it, I'll be like, this is my favorite song ever, and then I'll listen to the original. I'm like, nah, I hate this.
Yeah, they're like, hey, you know, that was really done by Paul McCartney. You go, shut up. I don't want to.
I knew that.
I still get angry at Band on the Run can't choose which song it wants to be because it changes 7 times throughout the damn thing.
Takes you on a journey, man.
It's a journey.
No, that's a different band.
It loses me. Yeah, I pick up Journey. I turn that off and I switch over to separate ways.
We had there was I don't know. I'm sorry that I missed the first 15 minutes of this, which was I'm sure nothing but tomfoolery. But
yeah,
did anybody mention the punk stuff, the Misfits?
We had not got there yet.
Haven't gotten there yet.
Okay.
Let's do it.
All right, because Glenn Danzig is unapologetically one of us.
Oh yeah.
Oh my God! At San Diego Comic-Con, he had a booth where he was selling comic art.
Yeah,
I came this close to buying a Jack Kirby Fourth World page off of him.
Oh,
I didn't have enough money.
Dude, he
I
has
should
his
have
own imprint,
remortgaged
right?
my house.
I think it would have. Hopefully, it would have been one with Mr. Miracle and Oberon, because then it would have been life size to Glenn Danzig. Because when Ronnie James Dio looks down at you and says, "You should probably wear lifts," that you're a short rocker. I'm just saying.
Full disclosure,
he's
I kept
pocket-sized.
asking for different folders just because the idea of me asking Glenn Danzig to hand me folders of original comic art was way too amusing for me to stop anytime
I get it.
soon.
I mean, you're like,
yeah. And as someone pointed out in our comments, Tom actually, who used to be in here, Wizard Magazine started a campaign to get Glenn cast as Wolverine, and I know he campaigned on that too because, he, as Mark points out, he's short enough.
Yeah, yeah.
But that's the problem. Is he looks the part, but I don't know. Glenn can't act.
No,
we don't know.
No.
We don't know.
Glenn can act, but he can sing a punk rock song about monster movies better than anyone on the planet.
Exactly.
So,
yeah.
so what we do is we do the Elvis solution. Wolverine sings the whole movie.
The whole movie. I think it can still happen. I think we'll get there.
Yeah.
Now I've got Wolverine doing nothing but a hound dog in my head. And it's kind of cracking me up a little bit.
I turned into a brood queen. Whoa.
Glenn actually has his own, and I don't know how much he's still doing it, but I think he did. In the 90s, he had what was it, Verotic?
Verotic.
Yeah.
Sure, why not? That was his sort of lowbrow. I looked it up. I just pulled up Wikipedia. Here's the nice thing about doing this way, y'all, is that when I was on the stage, I couldn't Wikipedia this stuff this quickly. Now I can. I can split screen. But apparently, Verotic is a portmanteau from violent and erotic, which is the most Glenn Danzig thing in the world.
Right.
And I don't know that any of those comics were. I feel like he read a copy of Faust and he was like, I can do this.
Yeah.
Exactly. I read 2 or 3 of them and stopped, and I know that he recently adapted them into a movie, and if you want to watch it, just don't.
I mean, probably the best thing about them is that he gave Simon Bisley a lot of work.
Oh,
which
100%.
was nice,
Yeah.
And Arthur Sudium. But the Misfits, were one of these bands that they were doing these great crazy little songs about wonderful B movies, bad sci-fi and horror, very midnight marquee kind of stuff. And I'll allege that you don't get White Zombie without the Misfits.
Right.
I mean, there's a straight through line into what Rob Zombie was doing, and of course. You could allege you don't get thrash metal without the Misfits Earth AD album.
Yeah,
they're a pretty influential punk band. Very much so. I think.
Tony Ann, very often.
Well, I mean, and how many either straight up Danzig or Misfit songs did Metallica make their bones with? Like, in
Right.
their-
Oh
like
yeah.
AFI was a Misfits ripoff band for like their first few albums. Like that was just straight up before they became whatever they are now. I think is dark wave, synthwave, whatever they're into. But yeah, they were. So yeah, there's definitely like for all of Danzigness, there's no denying the influence that that one dude had across so many genres and mediums.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, and at least Glenn is a goofball.
Glenzig.
Yeah,
I think he
Glenzig.
should be called Glenzig now. That's
I think
Yeah,
he should.
at least he's just a mostly harmless goofball. He's not a disappointment like Morrissey,
Yeah.
who finds new ways to disappoint us every day.
Yeah.
Well, you can't be that miserable all the time and not just kind of be an insufferable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
insert word of your choice.
Yeah.
Out of
But that
30
does
something-
kind of. Speaking
out
of
of
thrash,
30
oh,
go ahead.
Joe, go ahead.
I was going to say, I was just going to bag on Morrissey for a minute.
Oh, we always have time for that.
Please.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll see. After 30-something years of The Simpsons being on the air, no one has complained about their coverage until Morrissey this week.
I was just thinking, you know, if you have to get mad at the Simpsons for being a little too on the nose, you need to really re-examine every one of your priorities. You know.
Oh yeah.
Also, where he's like,
me
I'm going to
watch
give this
The
show
Simpsons.
more publicity than it's had in
Right.
15 years.
30-something years.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Insane.
Yeah, but kind of spiraling off of into, you know, we don't get thrash metal. I mean, that takes us to Metallica, who had some really good, you know, a friend of mine got me into metal through Call of Cthulhu off of Ride the Lightning.
Oh,
It's like,
God,
hey, you love H.P. Lovecraft, listen to this. And blew my mind.
That explains a lot. Yeah.
I mean, it does. But Metallica had some good stuff, and then over to Anthrax
Yes.
with
I
I
love
Am the Law and Among the
Misery.
Living.
A Judge Dredd song.
Yes.
Come on.
And
Yes.
not only that, but talk about, I mean, on message, on point. It is exactly what you want a Judge Dredd song to be. I don't think anyone's done another Judge Dredd song because they nailed it on the first try. You know, it's one of the. Oh man, I love Anthrax. I'd take a bullet for Scotty Ian. I think he's awesome.
The entire Among the Living album, which was my first introduction to Anthrax. Like the first whole Anthrax album that I got was that one. And in my little corner of Pennsylvania that I grew up in at the time, everybody there was Anthrax. I realized I think Metallica and Megadeth were other parts of the country, but we had like this little tiny corner of suburban Pittsburgh. We were all big into Anthrax for some reason.
I don't know, that tracks.
Yeah. And Among the Living was like the first full album that I got, and it was mind blowing. And I was like, oh, this is about books. I was like, it's Stephen King and 2000 AD, and I was like, oh my god, this is everything. I was like, everything about this album. Every other song was something like, oh, you can go down a rabbit hole of this comic or this book or this something. It's like these guys are just giant nerds, and this is amazing.
Yeah, the lyric sheets in the Anthrax albums, because I didn't get into that knowing they sang about that stuff. And then I was like, oh, this is about a Stephen King book that I read. I was really excited.
Yeah.
I think what set Anthrax apart from Metallica, Megadeth, Slayer was that they were a little more fun.
Yes.
Oh,
They're a little more goofy
Yeah.
than those bands.
Yeah. They did
They
not take
never
it
took
quite as
themselves
seriously
seriously.
as Dave Mustaine did. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, nobody takes themselves as seriously as Dave Mustaine.
It's true.
And, I mean, I think if I could only take like one thrash metal album to a desert island, it would be Rain and Blood. But Anthrax are a lot of fun. They're a great band.
Yeah. You know, I remember being in high school and having like multiple hour arguments amongst my friends of the Metallica, Megadeth, Anthrax. You know, where were you?
Yeah.
And there was always that one weirdo who threw in Nuclear Assault.
You get the guy in the back, Exodus, and you're like, shut up.
Come on, man.
They're B tier at best. Shut your mouth.
But I do think sometimes with the serious stuff, like with Anthrax, and you said to come out of the Misfits, I do think like I was thinking about the difference between like when punk takes on sci-fi and metal does. I think metal tends to go more literary and serious, and a lot of the punk rock songs that deal with some sci-fi tend to be about like goofy B-movie shit.
Yeah,
Like,
right. Yeah.
Like like the Rosillos and the Dickies and like bands like that, or
The Cramps.
I
were,
was
the
about
Cramps,
to say
exactly.
the Cramps.
yeah.
Their
Love the
whole
Cramps.
thing is, "Hi, we're a weird '50s B movie come to life."
yeah.
Mhm.
And
Yeah,
and I like
quite
both.
literally.
I like both of them. I probably like the goofy B movie stuff more, but it's all cool.
I think for me that I think it's actually a little more accessible. You know, was it the Angry Samoans that did the Not of This Earth
Yes.
theme from the remake of the movie with Tracy Lords? I mean,
Yes.
you know,
Yeah.
talk about recursive and
That's
self-referential.
one
That
Mad
stuff-
Lib from here, one Mad Lib from there.
Yeah.
Yes.
You
And
get
punk rock songs are also usually much shorter, so it's easier to hook somebody.
a little bit,
Yeah.
yeah. I think that's part of it, but they tend to be bouncy. They tend to be upbeat, you know, and it tends to be a little bit easier to hook into it, you know. And whereas, you know, and again, nothing bad against Maiden or anybody else, or you know, what was the song that Metallica did based on Johnny Got His Gun?
Oh, one.
One.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, you know,
Yeah.
those are great, but you kind of have to be in the mood for them. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, you know, sometimes I need my metal to not be so, you know, thought provoking.
Sometimes
Yeah,
I just
well,
want to
'cause-
stomp. I don't want
Right.
to.
Exactly.
Well, like
One-
someone
One
someone
is
in the
really
com-
good, but you got to be in it for like 10 minutes.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you're not feeling happy after.
No,
No.
that
No.
song gave me nightmares as a kid. Like I would watch the video, not the song, but the video. I'm watching the video. I was completely unfamiliar with Johnny Get Your Gun.
Mm.
I had a hippie dad. Like I didn't know. I was like distance from that, other than my uncle that was stationed in Germany during Vietnam. I had no real connection to that. And I'm watching this, and I was like, I can't finish this.
Right.
I could watch the video in its entirety, and I was like, "Oh, this is amazing!" But yeah, there's no wonder I would wake up in the middle of the night, and be like, "Nah, I don't like this."
And I also want to throw a shout out to one of my favorite bands that is one of the few metal bands I know that is mainly inspired by role-playing games, and that's Bolt Thrower, which was heavily influenced by Warhammer.
Wow.
Oh,
They're
wow.
a British metal band.
Nice.
Neat.
I
And-
wondered when we were going to get to. I haven't heard that, so now I'm
Exactly.
We're 48. Okay, that's pretty good. I managed to last a long time before I got the
Yeah.
Bolt Thrower. Wow.
Well, I dig it. I'm writing that down myself. But,
Yeah.
well,
So
what
I
about,
have
go ahead.
I was gonna say I have an esoteric one that this comes from just watching trailers on Amazon Prime and then going, okay, we need to watch that. The other night we watched Voyage of the Rock Aliens.
Ooh.
This movie is it's Pia Zadora, so that places it. Like if you
Golden
know
Globe
Yeah.
winner.
where she is in the pantheon. It legitimately starts off with a video that is Jermaine Jackson and Pia Zadora in a wasteland dystopian future that I thought was the start of the movie. It's not. It's just a video that starts the entire movie, because then the movie goes to the fictional town of Spielberg, Speeelberg,
Nice. Sure.
which is also
Because lawsuits are
1984
real.
Right, exactly. Which is actually in reality 1984 Atlanta, and it was a little weird when I recognized Stone Mountain because they shot like parts of it are like in Stone Mountain. It stars, I've got to look it up real quick. It stars Craig Sheffer of Nightbreed
Okay.
playing a James Dean-esque rocker. It's bizarre. It is literally it's Devo Aliens. It's this former Christian band that turned into like a new wave act.
Like they do.
Searching for rock and roll on Earth, and they come down because they hear this rockabilly band, Jimmy and the Mustangs, playing, and then zaniness ensues, including a literal battle of the bands between Alien Devo, Jimmy and the Mustangs. The amount of overlap between this and the Rad soundtrack, just to like that in here, was mind blowing to me. And I went off on like a 3-day rabbit hole, like tracking down all of these songs. It has Real Life and 3-Speed. Jimmy and the Mustangs actually does something under his real name. This is a totally not rockabilly. Like, and this sounds like this is complete Stray Cats 101 rockabilly. It was If you can find it, it's streaming on Amazon Prime. It's definitely worth a watch, possibly while intoxicated or worse.
Tell me what the title is again.
It's a Voyage of the Rock Aliens.
Wow.
Nice.
And it's from the 80s?
It's from 1984. Apparently, it was shot in 82 and took forever to get released.
Does
It's always
skateboard in
political
it?
with these guys.
Does what?
It's
Is
always
there
political
skateboarding in
with
it?
these guys.
Does anyone skateboard in it?
I don't think so.
Oh man,
But-
because Kevin has an all skateboarding movie podcast.
Oh god.
You got to listen to it.
That's amazing. I'm going to check that out. When you said 84, it immediately brought up in my head the Return of the Living Dead soundtrack. Yeah,
Love that soundtrack.
And there's some great stuff on there. This is, I don't know how deep a cut this is. Is anybody else here a Rocky Erickson fan?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
Just making sure. You all look like men of taste and good breeding, but you can't always tell on the internet. So
Yeah.
these are questions designed to filter that out.
I have a good video filter that helps me look
Yes.
at
Yeah, that was the first time I heard Rocky Erickson was on that soundtrack, and made it back to the evil one, and just took the top of my head off and threw my brain across the wall because, how do you two-headed dog, for crying out loud? I mean, what a track one, side one masterpiece. I mean, good God. Those of you out there who are paying attention, if you don't know who Rocky Erickson is, he was originally the lead singer for the 13th Floor Elevators, and I know you've heard one of those songs because you probably saw the movie High Fidelity. But he had a solo career in the 80s after he survived shock therapy and being institutionalized. And what he came out with was an album called the Evil One. And it's sublime. It's sublime. There it is, right there. That's if you give me one word to describe it, it's sublime. It's one of the best hard rock, geek related on the Venn diagram. It's just one circle, anyways.
And if you're a fan of Ghost,
yes, their cover
of If You Have Ghosts.
Oh, there you go.
Wow.
Is fantastic. It is both true to the original while still very much being like all of their covers. Whether it be Missionary Man or anything else I'm drawing a blank. Crucified, Missionary Man, all the songs that they've covered. It sounds very much like a Ghost song, but yeah, that's They do a really good cover of that. So
well, we
before we wrap it up, because we're about to, we have to. Craig Isley has yelled this a few times. And he's right. We do have to mention Rush.
We do have to mention Rush, and this is the kind of thing we're going to come back to. This we're barely scratching the surface.
2112 and Farewell to Kings alone.
Yeah, I'm afraid so. Yeah,
I think. Other than Anthrax, Anthrax might be the only band I talked about on the previous panel and this panel, and I don't think I've said the same things. So there's no shortage of stuff to discuss at this time.
True.
I feel like I know you well enough that I can confess this to you. I'm not a Rush guy.
I can believe it. They're not for everybody.
I'm not. I tried really hard in the 80s. When they were all playing Tom Sawyer at the Laser Light Show, right? They would do that, and I did my best, and I've got friends who they like Rush the way I like Robert E. Howard, completely and in their molecules, and I just if you gave me all their albums, I could probably assemble a 10-track best of for me list. I just don't know if I ever listened to it, right? I don't know.
No, I'm kind of with you, Mark. It's like, I don't think Rush are bad. I just think Rush are not for me.
Yes, exactly. There it is right there. Nothing wrong with them musically. They're great. They're in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
And all of those kind of like concept album the proggier end of concept album metals. Like I know Queen Strike's Operation Mindcrime came up in the comments, which is another record that people I know really, really love. and it's also very much not for me.
Yeah.
All of my friends in high school were drummers, and so it was just no escaping. Like everywhere I went, because I didn't get my license until much later. Everywhere we went, riding in cars with drummers, you're listening to Rush.
Yeah.
I was witness to high school teenagers. I was witness to a 90-minute argument of Lars versus Neil.
Oh, there's no comparison. Wait. Is it old big kit Lars? Because then you might like current tiny kit Lars.
Oh, it was. We're talking like Master of Puppets. Justice for All.
That's fair. Then that's fair. He was still playing a double bass and had the big kit. Not doing the Nickelback kit.
I mean, it was like it almost came to bloodshed at one point.
We may have to host that argument on another one of these panels.
Those debates approach the kind of religious fervor that let Henry VIII split off from the Church of England kind of stuff. You know, wow.
Yeah.
Thank goodness they've outlawed dueling.
Lutherans have nothing.
You're
on
not restricted to doing
fans.
that on banjos.
And I know we got to wrap up, and I know this is slightly tangential, but he died this week, so I did want to bring up Steinman.
Exactly, Jim Steinman.
Yeah,
we're gonna do a whole panel on Jim Steinman. There's so much of him in the operatic, the epic tone of sci-fi stuff that he did.
I wish he had actually been able to do more stage stuff, because it's clearly obviously what he was born to do. I posted the clip from Streets of Fire.
I love that movie so much.
That was that's probably my favorite Steinman, other than the first Meatloaf album. But it was sad. The good news is he had a really cool career and got to work with a lot of neat people. So you know.
And it was like he did what he did like so well. Like I don't think like no one else was out there going like, I need to thread the needle between Andrew Lloyd Webber and Bruce Springsteen.
Right.
And he did it.
And he's writing complete
I love that stuff.
With Faulknerian length to all of my lyrics. No one he built his lane and he owned it.
Yeah.
He made it so that nobody else could ever join him. He's like, nope, this is me.
Yeah. I always loved the quote that he said, like, if I could ever write a song that was under 8 minutes long, I'd be a millionaire.
I love it.
He just needed to get with Paul McCartney, and then they could have just made it into like 78 songs in one 8-minute thing, and he could have released it in chunks.
Steinman could put out albums of Paul McCartney covers and just sell them to you.
Yeah, there you go.
All my money. Here you go. I'll take them. I can't fault McCartney as a lyricist. I hate the guy.
That's awesome. I've never heard anybody throw Paul McCartney under the bus. That's amazing.
That's it.
Much respect, man. I'll
be that guy.
Yeah, total respect. I get it, man. Yeah, that's cool.
I was a Stones fan growing up. I was like, who cares about the Beatles?
Yeah,
I need the Clash.
In that either or, I'm the Stones guy too. But
Kevin Eldridge says there, I remember I was at a diner at like 2 a.m. with friend after gaming, and the radio was playing, and I'm hearing this song, and I'm like, that's a Jim Steinman song.
Yeah.
And it turned out to be the Celine's cover of It's All Coming Back to Me Now.
Which is great.
Yeah, but I was like, we were trying to eat waffles because we're hungover, and I'm like,
sure,
that's Steinman.
And then he the Taylor Dane song on the Shadow soundtrack is just
I love that song.
But there's so much good stuff. But if we have, that's right. I ended a heavy metal panel praising Taylor Dane. Thank you.
I mean, it works. It works.
But there are 47 steps.
But guys, thank you. We barely scratched the surface. We'll do another one of these. And
I'll be on time this time. Yeah.
And this sums up the whole thing right here. Names you didn't expect. Exactly.
That's the classic track, bringing you the unexpected.
Look, she's got that Rob Halford range.
Yeah.
This is true.
But and then of course
Now I need a duet between the two of them.
Yeah.
She could easily cover Queensryche.
Oh yeah.
Aren't they both Canadian?
I think so.
They might be, yeah.
I think she's
Yeah.
actually French Canadian, which is like double Canadian.
Oh,
double.
it is. It's a triple
Canada,
one.
Canada.
They give you 2 birth certificates. I
That's
think
right.
one in each language.
So before we get out of here, if you are on the internet and you want to be found, tell people where you can be found, Kevin.
Gleamingthetube.net, which is my thing there. It's my dumb podcast about movies that involve skateboarding. The next episode is going to be about 1993's The Skateboard Kid, which features a talking skateboard voiced by Dom DeLuise.
What?
Wow.
Badass.
Sean, I've been waiting to tell you about this podcast.
Oh my God. I'm going to have to check that out. It's going to compete with my, I don't think I could do an entire podcast about rap, but I could try.
Yeah. But you, I just listened to the most vertical primate episode like 2 days ago. It's great.
Well, we did one for April Fools that was, we did Citizen Kane and spent the entire episode insisting that Rosebud was a skateboard.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd be down with that.
Yeah.
That would be amazing. Yeah.
I need someone to do that remake.
Yeah, that needs to happen like now, like in a
Right now.
California skate park.
So,
Citizen
Sean,
Kane. You put an apostrophe in there. Citizen
yeah.
Kane.
Okay, yeah. So I don't do much on the internet these days. So I'm actually going to say what you should do is go follow Jen, Smells Like Cheese Art on Instagram. Also, go to lraycomics.com and look for the newest issue of Murder Hobo. There is an exclusive if you're familiar with the D&D character, there's a book called Murder Hobo. The newest issue, Murder Hobo Chaotic Neutral #1, El Ray Comics, lraycomics.com. They have the exclusive Jen variant cover. Jen did a variant cover for this issue of Murder Hobo Comics. So I have been promoting that all over the place.
very cool.
So go check that out. So yeah, she's got more stuff going on online than I do these days because I do this all the time. I just talk into a microphone and tell people about the internet.
Well, this is what we'll
Smellslikecheese.com, correct?
Smellslikecheese.com and Smells Like Cheese Art on Instagram because we couldn't.
And
Somebody
all
else
these
already
links-
smells like cheese on Instagram. So
all these links we'll put in our show notes, and we'll get Jen on here too. But Gary,
You can find me here on the Twitter, usually saying something inflammatory about Republicans. And you can find me here every Thursday saying something inflammatory about Rush.
and lastly but not leastly, Mark.
I can be Googled, so you
Yeah.
can. I've got books on Amazon. I podcast with the Gentleman Nerds at thegentlemannerds.com. My blog is kind of stalled right now. Mark the Aging Hipster at Blogspot. But if you want to follow me on Facebook, I do a little thing every Friday to kind of talk about movies and stuff that I've watched or shows or whatever, and I do a lot of commentary on there. If you decide you want to follow me, just mention when you do your friend request that you heard me here on this channel, and I will let you in because that's the kind of guy I am.
Otherwise, you're getting blocked.
That's right. That's right. Blocksville, baby.
No super pokes for you.
That's right.
Oh, God, super pokes.
And
Is it
that's
sad
good-
that Facebook is now old enough to have a throwback section?
And that is a good place to end it, ladies and gentlemen. Speaking of super pokes, my name is Joe Crowe. Thank you again for coming and hanging out with us for another hour and 13 minutes, the best hour and 13 minutes of your week. Join us on Facebook.com/group/American Sci-Fi Classics every day where we're doing this kind of thing. And then in 1 week's time, our next topic will be
The Addams.
Yeah, we're doing an Addams Family panel next week.
For its 30th anniversary of the wonderful Raul Julia movie.
oh my God,
Yeah.
the new movie is 30. Fuck.
Yeah.
God,
Yeah.
I feel really old right now.
Time is a motherfucker, and it's coming for all of us.
We have at least one, if not two, Wednesday Adam cosplayers on the panel.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
And so lots of fun stuff next week. And then we'll do more panels on Thursdays after that once we figure out what they are. And join us next week when you will hear Gary Mitchell say,
I have a thing for Morticia.
where is the button?
Things like this.
You know what?